Virginia Rappe, a resilient and aspiring actress and model, overcame numerous hardships and setbacks in her pursuit of success during the 1900s. Finally, her talent and hard work began to pay off as she started making a name for herself in the entertainment industry. However, her promising journey took a devastating turn when she attended a party that ultimately led to her untimely demise. In a cruel twist of fate, one of the most renowned actors of the silent era found himself behind bars, accused of causing Virginia's tragic death. Thus, the life of Virginia Rappe, a shining star of Hollywood, was abruptly cut short, leaving behind a legacy overshadowed by sorrow and loss. Her early years in Chicago. Within her first few years on Earth, Virginia had already experienced pain and hardship, but her dreams of a better future kept her going even when things were tough. Born on the 7th of July, 1981 in Chicago, Illinois, Virginia reportedly never had a father figure in her life. It is unclear why her father was not in the picture, but from the look of things, her mother was left to raise her all on her own. Her mother, Mabel Rappe, was said to have worked as a chorus girl and also taken on other menial jobs in order to make ends meet, but things were not looking up. Although she didn't grow up in the best circumstances, Virginia never stopped dreaming of a better life. She held on to her dreams of becoming an actress and model, even when the future didn't look bright. Unfortunately, life dealt her a bad hand when her mother passed away. She was only 11 years at the time, but even when things appeared to be falling apart, Virginia held on to her dreams for the future. She later went to live with her grandmother, who raised her until she was old enough to survive on her own. When the actress became a teenager, she decided that it was time for her to start nurturing a modeling career. As a beautiful and mesmerizing brunette, Virginia was able to find her place in the modeling industry in her early years, but the wake of her career would lead to a romance that she didn't see coming. The dawn of her modeling career. After posing for several local artists and fashion designers, Virginia decided that she wanted more, so she packed her bags and moved to San Francisco, California. While this move set her up for early success, she would experience yet another tragedy soon enough. In the early years of her modeling career, Virginia was known to have had a delicate yet captivating appearance with a slim figure and graceful poise. She had enchanting features, including large expressive eyes, a perfectly proportioned face, and a captivating smile. Her complexion was described as radiant and flawless, further enhancing her overall appeal. With her stylishly coiffed hair and a fashion sense that accentuated her natural beauty, she exuded an air of sophistication and glamour. With all these in place, she was destined to make it big in the modeling world. It wasn't long before she started succeeding in the industry. She was a muse for several artists and posed for several designers as well. Virginia was making a name for herself and actualizing her dreams, all she had ever hoped for. It was during this period that she met a dress designer named Robert Moskowitz, who had hired her to pose for his brand. Robert was not only impressed by her modeling skills, but he also developed an interest in her, and the feeling was mutual. Shortly after, they got into a relationship that led to an engagement. Virginia and Robert were both elated and counting down to their wedding. Unfortunately, their plans and hopes for the future came to a tragic end when Robert Moskowitz passed away in a car accident. Virginia was shattered and devastated. She had lost her mother and now the love of her life. Surely things couldn't get any worse. It was during this period that she decided to move to Los Angeles to pursue her acting career. She had no idea what the future held. She only hoped for the best, chasing the big screen. The decision to start acting seemed like a step in the right direction, but little did she know that an untimely death was lurking around. Shortly after Virginia relocated, she started auditioning for roles and putting herself out there. It wasn't long before she was hired by director Fred Balshofer to act alongside the then famous Harold Lockwood in the film Paradise Garden. She also appeared with Julian Eltinge in Over the Rhine. She may have been an upcoming actress, but she didn't act like an amateur. She was found amongst some of Hollywood's most famous stars, and she was determined to keep standing out in the industry. Many reports about her story paint an image of her being unknown in the industry, but the actress was far from unknown. She had built a reputation for herself as a talented actress in the silent era and was working towards improving her career. Virginia was even said to have won an award for the best dressed girl in pictures, and she was set to build an unforgettable career. As she was making efforts to grow her career, love came knocking on her door once again. She found herself falling head over heels for the Hollywood producer and director Henry Lerman. They later got into a relationship and began to make plans to get married. It seemed like she finally had the life that she once prayed for, but once again, fate had plans to suffocate her happiness. The connection between Virginia and Roscoe Arbuckle. Whenever Virginia Rappe's story is told, the name Roscoe Arbuckle comes up. Here is why. In the 1920s, Roscoe Arbuckle, who was popularly called Fatty, was famous for his exploits in the film industry. He introduced the pie-in-the-face gag, which became a comedic staple in the 1920s. His charismatic performances, combined with his remarkable agility for a man of his size, endeared him to audiences worldwide. Arbuckle's natural comedic roles and his ability to portray sympathetic and relatable characters made him a box office draw and propelled him to the pinnacle of his career. The actor had achieved great success as an actor and director as well. He directed numerous comedy shorts under his own production company, Comic Film Corporation, which further solidified his reputation as a comedic genius. Virginia, on the other hand, was a promising actress whose career was growing rapidly. She had appeared in over 13 movies at the time and even appeared in His Wedding Night with Roscoe Arbuckle. From the look of things, the both of them were acquaintances who had worked together on projects. However, at the height of Roscoe Arbuckle's career, he would find himself buried deep in a murder scandal, and the victim would be Virginia Rappe. Her unfortunate death. On September 5, 1921, Virginia Rappe attended a party hosted by Roscoe Arbuckle's friends, Fred Fishback and Lowell Sherman, at the St. Francis Hotel in San Francisco. Roscoe Arbuckle was also in attendance, and they were all set to have a good time, but things quickly turned sour. Despite the prohibition, the party organizers ensured that there was enough booze and women to make the party even more fun. It was reported that the actress arrived at the party with her friend around 10:30 a.m. Everything seemed to be going well until she allegedly went to Arbuckle's private suite with him. The events that unfolded later that day are still a mystery today, but it was alleged that she fell ill during the party and complained of severe abdominal pain. She was taken to a nearby hospital where she underwent surgery but unfortunately passed away a few days later on September 9, 1921, at the age of 26. The official cause of death was determined to be peritonitis, which is inflammation of the abdominal cavity's lining, but a lot of people believe that Arbuckle had a hand in her death. However, there was an uproar of speculations about the cause of her death, and some people accused Arbuckle of crushing her, assaulting and physically harming her. All these led to his arrest and a highly controversial legal case. Arbuckle was later charged with rape and manslaughter, and after 3 lengthy trials, a jury acquitted Arbuckle. Virginia's death would forever remain one of Hollywood's most tragic deaths. She was truly a promising star, and it is quite unfortunate that she didn't live long enough to enjoy life and fulfill her goals. Picture this. You're transported back in time to the 1980s, a world of big hair, bright colors, and shoulder pads. You find yourself standing on the set of The Golden Girls, surrounded by the iconic living room, kitchen, and bedrooms that played host to some of the most memorable moments in TV history. But what if we told you that there's a hidden world behind the scenes of this beloved show? A world filled with secrets, mysteries, and bizarre tales that few have ever heard before. In today's video, we're going to take you on a journey into the unknown as we uncover the strange and fascinating story behind the Golden Girls' iconic set. The set was haunted by a ghost named Charlie. Legend has it that during the early days of filming, strange things began to happen on set. Crew members reported hearing unexplained noises, seeing objects move on their own, and feeling an eerie presence in the studio. At first, people brushed off these incidents as nothing more than superstition. But as the sightings continued, some began to suspect that there might be something more going on. One day, a member of the crew decided to investigate the source of the strange occurrences. They conducted a thorough search of the set, looking for any signs of paranormal paranormal activity. To their surprise, they discovered that the source of the ghostly activity was an old soundstage that had been used for filming years before the Golden Girls came along. The stage had been abandoned for years, but it seemed that something or someone had taken up residence there. The crew members decided to investigate further, and soon they began to uncover more details about the ghostly presence. They learned that the ghost was a man named Charlie, a former sound engineer who had died on the set years before. Despite the initial fear and unease, the cast and crew of the Golden Girls came to accept Charlie as a benign presence on the set. They even went so far as to leave a chair empty on the set as a tribute to the ghostly sound engineer. Over time, the legend of Charlie the Ghost became a beloved part of Golden Girls lore, a reminder of the show's quirky and supernatural side. And while the show may be gone, the memory of Charlie and his ghostly presence lives on, a testament to the enduring appeal of the Golden Girls. They stole the iconic set. Every popular show that has ever aired usually has that one house that is so iconic because almost all of the interactions on the show happen in that house. Usually, the show producers create the set specifically for the show, but the Golden Girls crew did something a little more bizarre. The iconic house used in the show wasn't actually built for the show. As a matter of fact, the set was originally used for another popular sitcom from the 1980s called Empty Nest. When the show Empty Nest ended, they were about to pack up and leave, but then another show that was just about to start, Golden Girls, which had no set, suddenly stumbled upon the set of Empty Nest, and it was perfect for the show. It was a lovely and quaint house, pastel-colored with a large lanai and palm tree in the backyard. It was exactly what they needed at the time, and the Golden Girls crew wanted it. There was only one problem. It has been promised to another show. This would probably discourage any other crew, but not this one. They were determined to have that set for this show. So they did what any determined crew would do. They stole the set. Don't ask how they got away with it. They stole the set inspiration too. Did you know that even after they stole the set, they decided to do some redesigning to really make it come more alive? But then the fascinating thing here is that the set was actually inspired by a real-life house. The house that served as inspiration for the Golden Girls' home is located at 245 North Saltaire Avenue in the Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles. It was built in 1955 by the architect David Hyun and features a unique mid-century modern design with a pastel-colored exterior, large windows, as well as a flat roof. The house was owned by a woman named Betty Jameson from the early 1960s until the early 1980s. During that time, Jameson decorated the house with an eclectic mix of furniture and decor that reflected her own personal style. When the set designers for the Golden Girls visited the house, they were struck by the unique blend of traditional and modern elements, and the way that the decor felt both cozy and sophisticated. The set designers then decided to steal the designs from the house, and then they took inspiration from its layout and decor when creating the Golden Girls' home. They went ahead to recreate the fine details in the house for their set, the pastel-colored exterior and the large lanai with rattan furniture and the palm tree in the backyard. They also incorporated elements of Jameson's eclectic style into the Golden Girls' home, such as the mix of traditional and modern furniture, bold floral prints, and the antique knickknacks. But despite their inspiration theft, there is a silver lining, especially from Jameson, whom they stole the design from. Interestingly, the house in Brentwood has become a popular tourist attraction for Golden Girls fans. Visitors take photos outside the house and even visit the nearby Brentwood Country Mart, where the Golden Girls would often go to the shop and socialize on the show. In 2016, the house in Brentwood went up for sale and was eventually purchased by a couple who were fans of the show. They renovated the house and added a few modern touches while still maintaining its mid-century charm. Today, the house is still a beloved symbol of the Golden Girls' legacy and the enduring power of female friendship. The secret entrance. It would surprise most Golden Girls fans to know that there was a secret door on the set. Legend has it that the door was originally installed as a practical feature, allowing the crew to store props and equipment in a convenient location without cluttering up the rest of the set. But over time, the door took on a life of its own, becoming a source of fascination for the cast and crew. During breaks between scenes, the actors would sometimes sneak off to explore the secret room behind the door. They would joke about what they might find inside, speculating about hidden treasures or secret passageways. One day, during a particularly long shoot, Betty White decided to investigate the secret room for herself. She crept over to the door and cautiously opened it, peering into the dark space beyond. To her surprise, she discovered that the room was not just a storage space, but a fully furnished lounge area complete with couches, tables, and lamps. The room was decorated in the same mid-century modern style as the rest of the set, with bold colors and geometric patterns. Betty couldn't believe her luck. She invited her castmates over to explore the secret room with her, and soon the lounge area became a popular spot for the actors to relax between scenes. They would play cards, chat, and even nap in the cozy, hidden space. Over time, the secret room became a beloved part of the Golden Girls set, a hidden oasis of calm amidst the chaos of filming. And while the show may have ended, the memory of that secret door and the lounge behind it lives on, a testament to the enduring magic and mystery of the Golden Girls. The real purpose of the sitting room. You will not believe the real story behind why the sitting room in Golden Girls was designed the way it was, to make the cast look good. The set designers knew that the actors' appearances would be crucial to the success of the show. They wanted to make sure that the four leading ladies looked their best on camera, so they set about designing a living room that would complement their unique features. They spent months poring over color swatches, selecting furniture, and experimenting with different lighting setups. They even consulted with a team of makeup artists and hairstylists to ensure that the colors and tones in the room would complement the actors' skin and hair. Finally, after much trial and error, the perfect living room was born. It was filled with warm, vibrant colors, from the rich reds and oranges of the furniture to the bold green of the wallpaper. The lighting was carefully calibrated to enhance the actors' skin tones and bring out the colors in their clothing. When the actors first stepped onto the set, they were blown away by how good they looked. Even Bea Arthur, who was notoriously critical of her appearance, was impressed by how the living room made her look on camera. And it wasn't just the actors who benefited from the set designer's expertise. Viewers at home were also drawn to the warm, inviting atmosphere of the Golden Girls living room, and many of them commented on how good the cast looked on the show. In the end, it appears that these popular and beloved shows have bizarre and downright fascinating secrets, but ultimately, all secrets come to the light.
If you're a devoted member of the Brady Bunch fan club, you know that even the grooviest shows can have their fair share of slip-ups. But did you ever catch these unexpected blunders that remained under our retro radar for years? It's time to uncover some continuity errors and mistakes that a lot of people missed in the show, exposing actors' slip-ups. Have you ever caught yourself wondering how actors and actresses are able to stick to calling their co-stars by their screen names instead of their real names? Well, some cast members of the Brady Bunch mistakenly called their co-stars by their real names. Did you notice? While the characters in the Brady Bunch had well-established names, there were instances when the actors accidentally referred to their colleagues by their real names. In the episode What Goes Up, Peter Brady jumps on a trampoline, and Florence Henderson's character, Carol Brady, cheers, "Go get him, Chris." In this moment, it appears that Henderson momentarily dropped her on-screen persona and unintentionally called her on-screen son, Christopher Knight, who played Peter Brady by his real name. Similarly, in Amateur Night, as the Brady kids prepare for a talent show, Maureen McCormick, who played Marcia, calls out, "Come on, Chris," during a rehearsal. Although her character was supposed to address her on-screen brother, McCormick's slip-up suggests that her real-life familiarity with Christopher Knight temporarily overshadowed her character's name, Marcia. While these were clearly mistakes on the part of the actors, the editors of the show would have either edited it or the scenes would have been reshot. However, the scenes were left untouched, and a lot of viewers probably didn't notice. It's safe to say that these unintentional mistakes are glimpses into the relaxed and genuine atmosphere on the set of The Brady Bunch, where the actors treated each other like family. But these name slip-ups were not the only errors on the show that went unnoticed. There is more, a hidden flaw in the Brady home. Most fans of The Brady Bunch were too busy enjoying the show to notice when a scene in the episode titled "You Can't Win 'Em All" revealed something unexpected. While fans of The Brady Bunch may recall the idyllic suburban residence where the Brady family resided, there is an architectural blunder that has gone largely unnoticed. As the show's patriarch, Mike Brady is an esteemed architect. One would expect his own home to showcase his craft, flawlessly designed and meticulously maintained. However, upon closer inspection, a subtle yet perplexing mistake comes to light, one that has escaped the keen eyes of most fans. Situated at the end of the raised brick entryway to the Brady home, a discerning observer might notice that a few tiles are missing, subtly interrupting the otherwise seamless flow of the design. This minute detail may have gone unnoticed by the average viewer, but it poses an intriguing question. How could such a discrepancy exist in the home of a diligent architect like Mike Brady? Makes you wonder if it was an intentional flaw to showcase the imperfections of real-life families or something the props team forgot to put in place. One possible explanation for this peculiar oversight lies within the mischievous nature of the Brady boys. Known for their misadventures and occasional hijinks, it is plausible to speculate that they inadvertently caused the missing tiles through their exuberant sports activities inside the house. Perhaps during one of their boisterous games, a ball ricocheted off a wall, colliding with the tiles and causing them to chip and dislodge from the entryway. Or perhaps this hidden flaw was a result of a mistake that the props department made. Whatever it is, the fact that a lot of people didn't notice it shows that it blended right into the show. Interestingly, there was also a mysterious item on the set of the show that was not supposed to be there: the mysterious white rope. Truth be told, creating an interesting TV show is no easy feat, and it is absolutely normal for editors to bypass minor mistakes. This was probably why the white rope in an episode of The Brady Bunch went unnoticed. This flaw, nestled within the episode titled The Hero, revolves around an unsuspecting detail: the visible white rope that played a pivotal role in the unfolding of events. As the plot thickens, young Peter Brady emerges as the unlikely savior in a perilous situation. A little girl's life hangs in the balance as a shelving unit teeters on the edge of collapse within the toy store, but it is during this climactic moment that the keen-eyed observer can discern the presence of a thin, white rope surreptitiously yanking the red shelves away from the wall. It seems like the white roll was supposed to be hidden from the viewers, but it wasn't hidden well. Upon initial viewing, this imperfection may have gone unnoticed, obscured by the captivating narrative and endearing characters, but anyone who takes a closer look at the scene would notice the white rope that was used to create the effect of the shelves falling. The Brady Bunch fans missed this and also missed the one time when gravity failed in another episode. The law of physics was defied. The house of cards that the kids assembled in the episode titled 54 and Fight was certainly a sight to behold. The viewers were probably wondering how the kids were able to put together all those cards perfectly. Well, it seems like a little adhesive came in handy. An intriguing occurrence took place in the beloved TV show The Brady Bunch during an episode where the kids attempted to build a delicate house of cards. While the collapse of their masterpiece was expected, an astute eye might have noticed something rather peculiar: a few cards that mysteriously remained steadfastly glued together, defying the laws of physics. The construction of a house of cards is an intricate feat, requiring patience, precision, and a touch of skill. Behind the scenes, the props department undoubtedly faced the daunting task of assembling a prop that would convincingly depict the children's fragile creation. To ensure stability during filming, it seems the crew opted for a bonding agent to hold the cards together, allowing for a more controlled demolition. However, the true marvel lies in the fact that this magical bond managed to elude the attention of most viewers. Aside from this, there was also a lack of continuity in the dressing department that was clearly a mistake. Unnoticed wardrobe malfunctions. In the episode titled The Not So Ugly Duckling, Jan inadvertently fell victim to a striking clothing blooper. As the plot unfolded and Jan conveyed her character's concerns to her parents about her crush Clark's affections towards Marcia, an unforeseen wardrobe mishap occurred. At the start of the episode, Jan was seen wearing a charming floral-patterned shirt, complemented by a red rope of yarn adorning her hair. However, as she ascended the staircase to confront Marcia about the situation, a puzzling transformation took place. Suddenly, the red hair tie inexplicably turned green, and Jan's shirt underwent a magical metamorphosis, transmuting into an entirely different print altogether. This unnoticed alteration left fans perplexed and questioned the meticulousness of the show's wardrobe department. Another fascinating example comes from the introduction of the episode titled Goodbye, Alice, Hello, where Greg and Peter arrive home from school, exhibiting their youthful exuberance by tossing books around like a football. As Greg first steps into the backyard, keen-eyed viewers might have caught a glimpse of what appeared to be Black Beetle's boots adorning his feet. However, in the subsequent shot when the brothers enter the house, an astonishing transformation unfolds. Greg's footwear mysteriously changes to white Adidas sneakers. This subtle yet striking continuity error certainly exposes yet another glitch in the show's production. Interestingly, outfits were not the only things that magically changed in certain scenes. Vehicles were also swapped with no explanation whatsoever. The car continuity confusion. Not many viewers noticed the mysterious car switch in the episode titled The Winner. Could it be that the crew members also missed it? The episode titled The Winner follows the adventurous Brady family as they attend a live televised ice cream eating contest, with young Bobby Brady eager to prove his competitive eating prowess. As the episode unfolds, a keen-eyed observer might notice a significant inconsistency when it comes to the family's mode of transportation. As Mike and Carol Brady embark on their journey to the TV station, they can be seen cruising down the street in a vibrant blue convertible, undoubtedly a stylish choice for the occasion. However, a perplexing switch occurs when the family makes their triumphant return home after the contest. Suddenly, without any explanation or acknowledgement, the Brady clan finds themselves riding in their trusty brown station wagon instead. How didn't the production team notice this? Despite all these, there is no denying that The Brady Bunch was one of the most interesting shows in the 70s. These errors may have been avoidable, but they didn't take away from the interesting nature of the show. While the production team of The Brady Bunch failed to conceal these errors, in 1980, a powerful and highly interesting movie was released for the world to see. But this was no ordinary movie. It was a beautiful tale that sparked all kinds of emotions in the hearts of viewers, leaving a powerful message behind. It's been decades since the film was released, and it is still a must-see for cinephiles and moviegoers alike. Some will argue that it is one of the best films that has ever been made. The conception and making of The Elephant Man. Looking at the number of positive reviews that The Elephant Man has received over the years, it is clear that the movie was a work of art from the start. But behind every incredible work of art is an artist or artists who created with intentionality. There is no denying that The Elephant Man turned out to be a masterpiece of filmmaking that continues to captivate audiences to this day. However, there was a time when the movie was just an idea. At the point when the vision of The Elephant Man was still in seed form, all that was available was a script that was clearly rich. But the vision for the movie could only become a reality if the right people took the script and turned it into a masterpiece through creativity and outstanding skills. Because of how delicate and different the storyline was, the creators of the film decided to go in search of the right cast and crew members who would bring the movie to life in a mind-blowing way. The journey originally began with the director, David Lynch, who had long been fascinated by the story of Joseph Merrick, a man born with severe physical deformities. Interestingly, David Lynch was no stranger to these kinds of stories. He already had some experience in making films with that theme. The director had previously explored the theme of deformity in his debut film Eraserhead, and he saw in Merrick's story an opportunity to delve deeper into this subject matter. One thing was clear, the storyline was superb. He just needed the right actors to bring it to life. For the role of Joseph Merrick, Lynch had his sights set on John Hurt, an actor known for his intense and deeply emotional performances. John Hurt was initially hesitant to take on the role, worried that the extensive makeup and prosthetics required would obscure his performance. He almost didn't take the role, but after seeing the impressive work of makeup artist Christopher Tucker, John Hurt knew for a fact that he was in great hands. The makeup process was a work of art. Looking back on the film, it is clear that the makeup process for The Elephant Man was a feat of artistry and technical wizardry. Anyone who has seen pictures of the real Elephant Man would testify to the fact that the makeup artist took his time to make the deformities of the main character look real. It took Tucker and his team an incredible 7 hours each day to transform Hurt into Merrick, using a combination of latex, foam, and other materials to create a realistic-looking mask that covered almost his entire face. The fact that so much effort and resources went into transforming the main character physically shows how dedicated they were to create a movie that was realistic and captivating. The film's visual and auditory elements are striking and memorable. Aside from the process of applying the makeup, the filming The Elephant Man was also not without its challenges. The film was shot in black and white, which added to its haunting and otherworldly quality, but also made it more difficult to capture the nuances of light and shadow. Additionally, many of the scenes were shot on location in London, which posed logistical challenges and required extensive coordination with local authorities. Despite these obstacles, Lynch and his crew persevered, creating a film that was both visually stunning and emotionally impactful. Mind-blowing performances. The film boasts of exceptional performances from its cast, particularly John Hurt as Joseph Merrick and Anthony Hopkins as Dr. Frederick Treves. John Hurt's portrayal of Merrick was sympathetic, and he manages to convey the character's intelligence and humanity despite the physical limitations of his performance. Many people who applaud John Hurt's performance to date didn't know the actor was uncomfortable with the heavy prosthetics. But despite the discomfort and claustrophobia that came with the process, Hurt remained committed to the role, giving a stunning performance that earned him a BA. It was based on a poignant and deeply moving story. At a certain point in time, not many people knew that The Elephant Man was actually based on a true life story. The movie tells the story of Joseph Merrick, a man with severe physical deformities who was known as the Elephant Man. The emotional story that inspired the film was one of the major reasons why the film touched the hearts of many. The storyline, which was derived from the real Elephant Man's life, held a lot of raw emotions and lessons that left the viewers in awe. The film begins with a scene of a carnival barker advertising the Elephant Man exhibit. It then cuts to Dr. Frederick Treves, a surgeon at the London hospital, who visits the carnival and is shocked by what he sees. He discovers that Joseph is being exhibited as a sideshow freak and decides to bring him to the hospital to examine him and provide him with proper medical care. Treves initially keeps Joseph isolated in a room at the hospital, but as he begins to examine him, he realizes that he is not mentally impaired, as he had initially assumed. Joseph is revealed to be intelligent, kind, and articulate, despite his physical deformities. He reveals to Treves that his deformities started to appear when he was 5 years old, and that his mother died from asphyxiation. As the film progresses, we see Joseph's life in the hospital, where he befriends the other patients and staff, including a kind nurse named Mrs. Mothershead. He also gains the attention of the London elite, who becomes fascinated with him and invites him to parties and events. However, not everyone is accepting of Joseph. The hospital's head nurse, Miss Sandwich, is cruel and abusive to him, and a group of hooligans attacks him when he tries to attend a play. Throughout the film, we see Joseph struggle to find acceptance and love in a world that views him as a monster. Despite his intelligence and kindness, he is still ostracized and feared by many. In the end, Joseph dies in his sleep, and Treves reflects on his life and how he failed to truly understand him. The film ends with the famous line, "We can never know what he went through, but we can try to understand him." One thing that is clear is that the film explores themes of isolation and acceptance and stresses the importance of compassion. The Elephant Man is a reminder of the human capacity for both cruelty and kindness. It is nearly impossible to watch the entire film without shedding a tear or two. Any movie that has the capacity to spark such emotion and compassion in the hearts of viewers will not be forgotten in a hurry. A timeless film. The storyline of The Elephant Man was certainly an emotional and powerful one that has left a mark in the history of black and white cinematography. Since its release in 1980, people have not been able to stop talking about it to date. The film has received several positive reviews from people all over the world for decades and continues to make history as a timeless work of art. Saying the film is a commercial success is an understatement, as it has earned 8 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture and Best Director. Looking back on the making of The Elephant Man, it's clear that the film was made with the passion, creativity, and determination of everyone involved. From the visionary direction of David Lynch to the incredible performances of John Hurt and the skillful artistry of the makeup team, every aspect of the film was a labor of love that continues to inspire and captivate audiences today. The outstanding creative process that went into the movie undoubtedly contributed to making it one of the greatest movies of all time. The Elephant Man is proof of what happens when talented stars come together to make a work of art. When the rumors about Clara Bo surfaced, it was the most terrible thing that had ever happened to her career. In a bid to shut the mouth of the only person who knew her secrets, she ended up in court, and all the secrets became public knowledge. Soon the public knew about all the orgies and threesomes she had with random men, and how she even willingly had intercourse with a dog. Are all of these just rumors, or is there some truth in there? Sadly, Clara is just one of the plethora of Hollywood stars who suffered from nasty rumors being peddled about them. This video would delve into some of the nasty rumors from the golden age of Hollywood. Some of them get pretty dark, others are shocking, or just plain creepy. Brace yourself. The suspicious demise of Thomas Ince. Like the saying goes, love makes you do stupid things, but just how far would one go for love? Allegedly, on a beautiful boat in the middle of the ocean, someone proved just how far they were willing to go for someone they loved, and it ended quite terribly for Thomas Ince. But if you're wondering who Thomas Ince is, it's okay if you don't know him. He was a man who did not mind being known because he worked behind the camera and was one of the biggest pioneers in Hollywood. He created one of the first standard movie studios, and it has all of the complete sets, light, and sound stages. Ince's company grew very successful, and it is what is known today as MGM Studios. But after a while, Thomas probably got a bit bored and decided to sell the company, which he did for a whopping undisclosed sum. Now that it was all over, everyone expected that he would retire, but he went ahead to start another studio called Paramount Pictures, and he sold that as well, too. However, in 1942, business was not going very well for Thomas, and he was almost at the verge of bankruptcy. But Thomas tried not to let it bother him too much. He tried to focus on things that would make him happy. So for his 42nd birthday, he insisted on throwing a big party to distract himself a little bit. His very good friend, William Randolph Hearst, was so much in support of this idea that he decided to borrow Thomas his boat for the party. It was perfect. Thomas went ahead to invite a few people, including Hearst and Charlie Chaplin, who just wanted to have a good time. There were drinks, food, and lots of girls, but sadly, this night turned ugly really fast. After dinner that night, the official reports say that Thomas had a terrible case of indigestion, and it got so bad they had to stop at Los Angeles and have him see a doctor who examined him and sent him home afterward. But the very next day, Toma was gone, and the official report says it was a case of heart failure. But was it? Rumors and speculations began to spread as to what people thought the true cause of his demise was. According to the rumors, it was not indigestion or even heart failure, but Thomas was shot. How? Well, it was speculated that Hearst walked into Charlie Chaplin getting a little frisky with Hearst's mistress, Davies, and in a fit of jealous rage, he pulled out his gun, aimed it at Charlie, and pulled the trigger. Unfortunately, he missed, and the bullet hit Thomas instead. Was this what truly happened? No one knows for sure, but Thomas was hurriedly cremated after his demise, and a witness who had seen the whole thing was immediately awarded a contract. On one hand, all these seem a little too organized and planned, but on the other hand, it could all be just one big coincidence. Judy Garland's abuse. By any stretch of the imagination, she is an amazing singer and an incredible actor. Best known for her role in The Wizard of Oz, Judy has made herself more than just the girl next door, but a Hollywood star and icon worth mentioning. But behind the scenes of her life, something horrible was going on, and none of her fans had a clue. One day at the vaudeville circuit, when Judy was just about 13 years old, the co-founder of MGM Studios, Louis B. Mayer, heard her sing and was simply taken aback by Judy's amazing talent. At that point, Mayer knew there was something special about Judy and was determined to make an even bigger star out of her. As a matter of fact, Mayer did not even care if Judy could act or not. She wanted to work with her. Mayer was even quoted to say that he did not care what Judy looked like. All he cared about was what she sounded like. That statement right there later became the biggest irony in Judy's life because by the time Judy turned 14, her size became a cause of concern for the studio, so much so that rumors had it that they tried to restrict her diet so much that it pushed her to a life of depression and depending on drugs. She was allegedly called all sorts of names by some people in the studio, including fat little pig with pigtails. Even after her first movie came out, rumor has it that the bullying didn't stop. The studio decided to put her on a strict diet, but this was not an issue. The issue was that the studio became allegedly abusive about it. They would go as far as serving her food and taking it right back from her before she even touched it. all in a bid to tease and torture her. Even after she got married to her husband at 18, she was 4'11" and 98 pounds. The studio seemed to agree that her weight was acceptable, but behind closed doors, rumor has it that they intensified Judy's diet. They wanted to maintain her weight, so she was strictly restricted to only chicken soup, black coffee, and pills designed to suppress her appetite, which she was being forced to take every 4 hours. On top of all these, the rumors say that she was even forced to take up to 80 cigarettes a day. Sadly, all of these took a toll on her and forced her into a life of pills and drugs, so much so that at 37 years of age, she was medically pronounced as permanent semi-invalid. While a lot of people believe that her condition was due to other factors, rumors and speculation point fingers at her studio. Howard Strickling was an evil fixer. You know those movies where there's a character that is the go-to when a problem needs to be solved? They are just a call away, and no matter how terrible the problem is, they can just magically make it go away. Well, this is kind of how Howard Strickling was back in the day. As the head of publicity for MGM Studios, how actors and actresses were perceived was very important to him, and he was in charge of presenting them in a way that they would be loved and accepted. But there was a small problem. The Hollywood industry had a very specific way they wanted actresses to look and be presented, and as such, studios needed to give the fans what they wanted. The bad news, however, was that this mostly affected actresses, as they had to always be perceived as beautiful, perfect, and undefiled. Therefore, when a young actress in the studio got pregnant, it had to be taken care of discreetly so their image and reputation could be protected. Rumor had it that Howard was the go-to guy if anyone in the industry wanted to get a discreet abortion. As a matter of fact, sometimes he did not give them a choice in the matter. When an actress was doing great and suddenly becomes pregnant, it becomes bad for business, so it was speculated that Howard would force them into doing abortions so the studio could continue making money off them. According to rumors, a lot of actresses and female celebrities had Howard on speed dial just in case their drunken night at the party became a bit more serious. Names like Judy Garland, Jean Harlow, Joan Crawford, and even Bette Davis. Funny enough, when Davis eventually had children, she was reportedly shocked that she could conceive even after all the abortions she had done, facilitated by Howard Strickling. A lot of other actresses reportedly looked to Howard as the go-to guy for abortions. He would allegedly introduce them to his friend nicknamed Dr. Killcare. Whether these rumors are true or not is yet to be determined, but it is definitely a cause for concern. Fatty Arbuckle's controversial murder trial. It was Labor Day in 1921. Everything was going great at this party. There were distinguished guests, booze, music, and everything a part needed, but just a few hours into the night, something terrible happened. Until today, no one can truly explain it. It was Hollywood's first high-profile scandal, and a cause for a lot of rumors and speculations. The character, Fatty Arbuckle, and the beautiful Virginia Rappe. Fatty was a very successful Hollywood star, a comedian who pulled crowds from far and wide, so much so that he became the first comedian millionaire. But his career took a dramatic turn for the worst when at a Labor Day party in 1921, he was with talented actress Rappe, when according to him, she began to complain that she was exhausted and needed to go lie down. Still, according to Fatty, he took her upstairs to a hotel room to lie down and catch her breath. A few hours later, Rappe's scream could be heard, and people ran into the room to see her laying on the floor. She was gone. Everyone got into a frenzy and began to speculate that Fatty had tried to force himself on her but took her life when she refused. But he claimed he was in the bathroom when she screamed and fell down. However, Rappe's last words, when she was found, were, "He did this to me." And so the matter went to trial. There were no signs of any force. She was fully dressed when she was found, and eventually, after 3 long trials, Fatty was acquitted. But it was too late. His career was over. The question remains, did he really do it, or was he innocent? No one knows for sure. Arrol Flynn's creepy relationship with underage girls. The more you listen to this particular story, the creepier and weirder it gets. According to reports, Flynn was not the most straightforward man, and he was involved in so many things that would make your skin crawl. 48 years old and married with a successful career in Hollywood, one would assume Flynn would be happy and content with his life. But despite how good his life was, he was reportedly hooking up with 15-year-old Beverly Adland, and rumor had it that this union was nowhere near consensual. However, Adland reportedly mentioned that she eventually fell in love with him and they would travel the world together. According to her, their relationship was wild and fun. When these two unlikely couples first met, Flynn's career was not doing so great. He was in the middle of child support battles with his ex-wives, a known drunk, and even accused of inappropriate relations with two other underage girls. Rumor had it that in a bid to boost his recognition and career in the creepiest way, he and Adland would pretend to be in a toxic relationship. He would pretend to beat her up in public, and she would use ketchup to imitate blood. Eventually, people got talking about it, and it brought the press back to his doorstep, just like he wanted. Is there truth to all these, or is it a little too far-fetched? Your theory is as good as mine. Clara Bo was sex-crazed? The early 1920s were a very conservative period in Hollywood, but Clara Bo, the Hollywood it girl at the time, made it to the tabloids, and the nastiest of rumors and speculations were spewed about her. It all started when Bo had a falling out with her secretary, Daisy DeVoe, which forced the secretary to quit her job and walk away, taking a lot of files that belonged to Bo with her. These files contained a lot of Bo's personal information, and Daisy, having worked very closely with her boss all this time, knew some secrets that could ruin her. So after a while, Daisy began to blackmail Bo, and the actress was not having it. She sued her former secretary, but the move backfired horribly when in court, all the secrets reportedly came out and the tabloids had a field day. It was speculated that Bo would sleep with anything and anyone, including having orgies with an entire football team, hooking up with married men, and even sleeping with a dog. Hopefully these rumors aren't true, but you never know. Natalie Woods' tyrant mother. Based on a lot of rumors and speculations, Natalie Woods did not really have the best of childhoods. Because her father was gone before she grew old enough to know him, Natalie's mother was in control of her life and that of her sister, and she held them with an iron fist. Natalie's mother, Maria, was a Russian immigrant who was determined to see her daughters succeed in Hollywood. She became Natalie's manager, controlling her career and personal life from a young age. Maria pushed Natalie into acting and was highly involved in her professional decisions, often prioritizing Natalie's career over her emotional well-being. According to reports, the pressure Natalie faced from her mother led to a strained relationship between them. Natalie felt controlled and restricted, unable to make her own choices and decisions. Maria's demanding nature and high expectations placed a considerable amount of stress on Natalie, contributing to feelings of anxiety and self-doubt. Her mother would reportedly go as far as pimping her out to older men in exchange for movie roles. As Natalie entered adulthood and gained independence, she sought to break free from her mother's influence. She attempted to exert control over her own life and career, which created further tension between them. This strained relationship with her mother affected Natalie's ability to establish healthy boundaries and form trusting relationships with others. Could there be truth to all of these speculations? Could a mother abuse her own daughter in this way? The answer is still at large. How Olive Thomas took her own life. Olive Thomas was an American silent film actress who rose to prominence in the 1910s. Tragically, her life was cut short at the age of 25 in 1920 under mysterious circumstances. While there have been various rumors and speculations surrounding Olive Thomas, one particularly nasty rumor that emerged after her demise involved allegations of her engaging in immoral or scandalous behavior. One of the most persistent rumors about Olive Thomas was that she took her life from poisoning as a result of excessive drug use or an intentional overdose. This rumor gained traction due to the prevalence of drug use among some individuals in the entertainment industry during that time. However, there is still no substantial evidence to support these claims. Janette McDonald was in a tragic love triangle. This one is a story of love, betrayal, and heartbreak between three legendary figures, Louis B. Mayer, Janette McDonald, and Nelson Eddy. It's the golden age of Hollywood, and the studio system reigns supreme. Louis B. Mayer, the powerful head of MGM, ruled with an iron fist, and he held the fate of actors like Janette McDonald and Nelson Eddy in the palm of his hand. The stars shone brightly under the studio's roof, but they were also ensnared in tight contracts, leaving little room for personal freedom. Enter Janette McDonald and Nelson Eddy, two gifted performers who found themselves constantly paired together in the studio's beloved musicals. Though never officially married, their on-screen chemistry was undeniable, and off-screen, they were the loves of each other's lives. But this love story was a source of immense frustration for Mayer, who feared their union would overshadow their lucrative careers. In the summer of 1935, fate took an unexpected turn. McDonald discovered she was carrying Eddy's baby. This was a scandal waiting to explode. Mayer was horrified at the prospect of unwed stars and the potential impact on their star power. This was exactly what he had been trying to avoid. So he hatched a chilling plan worthy of a Hollywood villain. According to the whispered rumors, Mayer allegedly forced McDonald to have an abortion, using his power and influence to control her fate. Threatening to blacklist both her and Eddy, he left her no choice but to comply. It was a heartbreaking decision for McDonald, torn between love and career, and Mayer held her future in his merciless hands. But as it turns out, a more tragic thing occurred. McDonald suffered a miscarriage, losing the child she never wanted to lose. But fate had one last cruel twist in store. Both Eddy and Mayer, unaware of the truth, assumed she had indeed gone through with the abortion, leading Eddy to end their relationship. Mayer, in his twisted joy, pushed McDonald to work even harder, using her sorrow as leverage to trap her in more movie contracts. Mayer's obsession with keeping the pair apart knew no bounds. He allegedly made chilling threats against Eddy's life, desperate to maintain control over his star's actions. Rumor has it he even went so far as to sabotage Eddy's car, hoping to send a clear and deadly message. Charles Laughton had a feces fetish? Laughton harbored a secretive desire that would make your jaw drop. According to the audacious accounts of Scotty Bowers, the actor made a rather peculiar request. He wanted Bowers, a popular Hollywood fixer, to arrange a special encounter with a hot young man while his wife was away. But that was not even the nasty part, because this rendezvous involved something quite unexpected, a sandwich-making session like no other. According to Bowers' memoir, here's how the night went. Bowers arrives at Laughton's abode, accompanied by the young man in question. Little do they know that their afternoon is about to take a bizarre turn. As soon as they set foot inside, Laughton springs into action, whipping up a sandwich with the enthusiasm of a culinary master. At first, nothing seemed off. It was just a sandwich with lettuce, tomatoes, sourdough bread, lemon juice, salt, and pepper. Laughton crafts the sandwich with meticulous care. But here's where things take an unexpected twist. In a move that no one could have predicted, the actor takes the bread slices in one hand and a pot in the other. Then he asks the young man to follow him into the bathroom. As the young man and Laughton ventured into the bathroom, the curiosity in the air is palpable. What on earth could be going on in there? Seconds ticked by, and finally, Charles Laughton emerges from the bathroom looking ever so nonchalant. He placed the plate with the assembled sandwich on the kitchen table, and that's when the astonishing revelation comes to light. Scotty Bowers, wide-eyed and curious, notices something peculiar about the lettuce and tomatoes on the sandwich. They've been lightly smeared with a mysterious brow substance. Seconds later, the young man, let's call him Ted, reappears in the kitchen. But something had changed. His previous excitement had vanished, replaced by sheepishness and even a hint of embarrassment. Bowers can't help but stare curiously at Ted, who pulls a face, hoping Laughton won't catch on to what's just happened. And in an unforgettable moment, Ted points at the sandwich on the plate and lightly pats his backside. That's when it all came together. The brown substance on the bread was Ted's feces, and believe it or not, right before their eyes, Charles Laughton does the unthinkable. He takes a bite of the sandwich. William Taylor was killed by a mob hitman. The circumstances around the demise of William Taylor are both mysterious and sketchy. There are so many theories and speculations. How did he really pass on? Let's rewind to February 1st, 1921, a fateful night that would forever change Hollywood's history. Taylor met with his girlfriend and talented comedian Mabel Normand at his Los Angeles home. They bid each other goodnight at 7:45 p.m., seemingly like any other evening in the City of Stars. However, the next morning at 7:30 a.m., Taylor's valet made a grisly discovery. The director's lifeless body lay in the front room, pierced by a fatal bullet through his back. The facts may be straightforward, but the cast of potential suspects paints a complex and intriguing portrait. As the LAPD and Hollywood gossip columnists descended on the case, the list of suspects grew longer than the credits of a blockbuster movie. Mabel Normand found herself under scrutiny, discovered rummaging through Taylor's belongings at the crime scene, which raised eyebrows and suspicions. Adding to the intrigue was Mary Miles Minter, a rising starlet whose infatuation with Taylor had reached obsessive heights. Blonde hairs matching Minter's were found on Taylor's jacket, adding a dramatic twist to the investigation. And then there was Edward Sands, one of Taylor's former servants, whose suspicious behavior came to light. He had stolen a considerable sum of $5,000 from the director and had been lurking around Taylor in the days leading up to his demise. The motive appeared to be rooted in betrayal and revenge, but the plot thickens even further when we dive into the world of Hollywood's dark underbelly, the mob, and its lucrative drug racket. Taylor, an anti-drug campaigner, had discovered the sinister dealings of drug pushers operating around film sets, ensnaring stars like Normand in their dangerous web. His determination to save Mabel led him to expose the mob's activities, and even tipped off the FBI, cracking down on their illicit business. Could this be why he was killed? Could this act of heroism have sealed his fate? Some speculate that the mob bosses, furious at Taylor's interference with their drug enterprise, may have sent a hitman to silence him forever. In the land of make-believe, truth and fiction often blur, and this theory adds a haunting layer of darkness to an already mysterious case. Some would suggest that if you looked closer, there is some truth to all of these. Even if you have $4 million in the bank, you can't buy another liver. These were the words that George Maharis said in an interview when he realized that he had an illness that could potentially put an end to his life. At the time, he was on top of his game in Hollywood, but now he had no other choice but to leave. Seems simple enough, but Hollywood wasn't done with him yet, and so they decided to fight and force him to stay even when he didn't want to. George was devastated. The producers at Route 66 were determined not to let him go. The battle line was drawn. How did it all pan out? Let's find out. Little beginnings. He was a natural-born singer, ready to take on the music industry. But all his dreams of being a musician came crashing down when he damaged his vocal cords. This rather unfortunate event would lead him to the very craft that changed his life forever. The talented star George Maharis was born in Astoria, Queens. He had a lot of siblings, as he was the third child out of 7 in his family. Unfortunately, his parents were not financially equipped to take care of him and his siblings. They were struggling initially to make ends meet. He did not exactly grow up in a wealthy home, but his parents had always tried to do their best to take care of him and his other 5 siblings. They had migrated from Greece in search of a better life for their family, and they worked hard for it. Growing up, George was a fairly good kid. He did as his parents asked and never got into any sort of serious trouble. So when it was time to start high school, his parents were assured that George would make them proud. He was enrolled in Flushing High School, where his classmates noticed his singing talent. But if he was being honest with himself, George did not really like school. Education did not appeal to him, but his immigrant parents would not watch him throw his life away, so they agreed on a compromise. Although he didn't finish school, George later joined the United States Marine Corps for 18 months. After that, he earned his high school diploma. Solid compromise, but Gurge still had a gaping hole in his heart. He had a passion for singing, and he would be better off pursuing that. So he decided to pursue a career in singing, but he quickly realized that pursuing a singing career was not exactly lucrative. Also, he was said to have undergone improper vocal lessons that damaged his vocal cords. When this happened, he knew for a fact that he could not pursue a singing career in the long run. He later picked up another interest in not just entertainment but acting, and he appeared in musicals outside of New York City. His first acting opportunity came on the TV show Mr. Peepers, where he played a funny version of Marlon Brando. Now the trajectory of his career had changed. He decided he was fascinated by acting, and so he studied at the Actors Studio with Sanford Meisner and Lee Strasberg. His dream was simple: learn all he can and dominate Hollywood. If only it were that easy. Route 66, his big break. A few years after learning in acting school, George came out energetic and ready to take on Hollywood, but no one told him that nothing was handed to anyone on a platter of gold. So Like a lot of other aspirants, George Maharis had to start from scratch and work on several acting gigs here and there, but nothing solid enough to put his name on the map. But he kept at it and hoped that one day he would get his big break. Sure enough, in 1960, Maharis starred alongside Martin Milner in the TV series Route 66, which aired on CBS, and as one would expect, he played the role with all of his might, and people noticed. His performance was recognized with an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Series in 1962. He was the happiest man in the world when the praises and accolades started rolling in. His dream was coming through before his very eyes. Months later, Maharis had appeared in about 82 episodes when health issues began to come for him, including a serious case of hepatitis. The next line of action was clear. He had to leave the show. Everyone, both fans and studio producers alike, were sad to see him leave, but after he left, he dedicated his life to making a good recovery and perhaps coming back to work. Once again, fate smiled at him. In 1962, George was healthy enough to come back to work. He had made a full and fast recovery, and when asked how he did it, he claimed that abstaining from alcohol was what helped. But now, things were a little different at work. The work hours were brutal, and he just could not keep up. So again, George had to leave, as it was taking a toll on his health. In an interview, George was asked why he decided to leave again, and his answer was simple and short. He said, "I have to protect my future. I keep going at the present pace. I'm a fool." But after working with them all this while, the Route 66 producers would not let George go just like that, and so they put up a fight, a rather aggressive fight, Maharis versus Route 66. When the producers found out that George was leaving, they resorted to starting a legal battle that he didn't see coming. Initially, Maharis didn't seek other employment, but once the producers replaced him for the next season, he began booking other engagements. He had been scheduled to appear on The Ed Sullivan Show in June 1963, but the Route 66 producers, claiming he was still under an exclusive contract, prevented his appearance through legal action. They accused him of faking illness to break his contract. One person even accused Maharis of prioritizing a film career over his loyalty to the company, his co-star, and the rest of the show's cast and crew. Maharis argued that times had changed and companies couldn't treat actors as mere commodities. He eventually won the legal battle, proving that his contract was invalid. Despite attempts at reconciliation from the Route 66 producers, Maharis made his first TV appearance after leaving the show on July 2, 1963. After his departure, the show's popularity declined, and it was ultimately canceled in March 1964, the fate that the producers were trying to escape. But sadly, now it was too late. Even though George had won the case, after a while he figured the acting industry was a bit too toxic for him, and then he remembered he had other interesting talents as well. In that pivotal moment, his spirit ignited, and he found himself on a profound journey of self-discovery that revealed a gift that had laid dormant within him for years, the exploration phase. It was almost as though Maharis just remembered he could sing. This single realization was the beginning of a memorable music career. Instantly, he decided to take a break from the acting scene and plunge into singing with as much excellence as he could, and the results were simply astonishing. Early in his career, Maharis released albums and singles through Epic Records. His first album, titled George Maharis Sings, had a notable presence on Billboard's album chart in 1962, staying for 29 weeks and reaching number 10. It ended up being the 41st most popular album of the year. One of his singles, Teach Me Tonight, achieved moderate success. It spent 11 weeks on the Billboard charts in 1962, reaching number 25 on the Hot 100 and number 8 on the Easy Listening chart. Another single, Love Me As I Love You, reached number 17 on the Easy Listening chart in September 1962. In 1963, Maharis made his singing debut on television, appearing on The Judy Garland Show. He performed the song Side by Side alongside Judy Garland. But all of these successes were not enough for him. He was on a roll now, and so later on, he decided to expand his career into something a bit different. Maharis began performing in nightclubs and pursuing a newfound passion for painting. As of 2008, he continued to paint, dividing his time between New York City and Beverly Hills, California. But just like many Hollywood stars, Maharis found himself bearing the brunt of his scandalous life. More legal issues. Unfortunately, even though George had lived a life free of drama and scandals, this feat would later be supplanted. Now, George began to live life on the edge and on the fast lane. Sadly, it got him inevitably in trouble. In 1967, George was arrested on charges of lewd conduct, but that was not all, because in 1974 he was arrested on charges of perversion for using the men's bathroom as a place of inappropriate behavior and intercourse. However, those charges were eventually dismissed, but in 1967 and 1975 he was back in cuffs again for trespassing and disturbing the peace. Thankfully, they were misdemeanor offenses, and so he pled guilty. One would only wonder where all these behaviors came from. But after 1975, George stayed away from trouble and lived a fairly normal and quiet life. But sadly, no one can run from the jaws of inevitability, the sad demise. By now, George Maharis had lived a good life. He had left a mark and retired to his home in Beverly Hills. But even at that, no one was fully prepared for what came next. It was May 24th, 2023, when Maharis finally passed at the age of 94. On one hand, he was mourned by those who loved and cherished him, but on the other, it called for a celebration of a life well lived. Picture this. You're an aspiring actor, fresh off the bus in Los Angeles, starry-eyed with dreams of making it big in Hollywood. The palm trees, the mansions, the red carpets, it's everything you've ever dreamed of. But there's a shadowy side to this city of dreams, secrets that the top Hollywood producers whisper about behind closed doors. You start hearing whispers, murmurs of certain practices, certain topics Hollywood producers will never dare discuss publicly. Why? Because acknowledging them could shatter the very foundation of the entertainment industry. It's more than just the casting couch or the competitive nature of auditions. It's something deeper, more sinister. You think to yourself, is this the price of fame? Are these the unspoken rules I must navigate? Dive with me into the enigmatic underbelly of Hollywood, where we unveil what producers won't ever talk about. This might just be the most riveting story you've never heard. They manipulate contracts. Read the fine print, everyone advises. But when you are an aspiring and talented actor trying to break into the Hollywood industry, you may not really care about agreements or the fine print. All you want is to make some money and get some recognition so you can get other opportunities. Producers know this, and sadly, they use this to their advantage and their advantage only. A lot of Hollywood producers have been known to find great actors and actresses and prey on their naivety. They work on projects with some of these actors and pay them stipends, even when the movie project does really well. By the time the actor knows what's going on, it is already too late and they have to lick their own wounds. But you do not have to take my word for it. Let's expose some of the culprits, shall we? Ever heard of the 1986 movie Aliens? Or perhaps Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows in 2011? These movies were produced by the same man, John Richardson, and while he has been given a lot of accolades for his work, his dark side is that he exploits actors. One glaring example of an exploitative contract in the case of Megan Parker, a talented young actress with dreams of making it big in Hollywood. She auditioned for a supporting role in a promising independent film, only to find herself caught in a web of deceit. The producer, John Richardson, preyed on her lack of industry experience and offered her an unfair contract with unfavorable terms. The pay rate offered was well below the industry standard, and the contract included an exploitative clause that prevented her from pursuing any other acting opportunities for the duration of the film's production. Megan Parker was way too new to the game to know what she was getting herself into, but when she found out she had been ripped off, it was too late. She had signed the contract and was bound by the agreement. Another notable case where producers exploit actors is the notable case of Academy Award-winning actress Emma Thompson. However, in this case, things didn't go quite as the producer, Robert Harrison, had planned. Thompson had signed on for a leading role in a highly anticipated film, only to discover that the contract limited her creative input and forced her to accept a significantly reduced pay rate. In most other cases, actors usually bow to the whims of the producer, but Thompson was not going to take this lying down. Unwilling to compromise her artistic integrity, she took a brave stand and negotiated fiercely with Harrison, eventually securing more favorable terms and preserving her independence as an actor. Sadly, cases like this where the actor wins are usually very rare. As a matter of fact, a lot of these greedy producers get away with their exploitation and none is the wiser. According to sources, some actually love to look out for desperate yet talented young actors and then feed them soothing words about how they would become stars if they accepted the contract. They make the contract look good, and because the actor is new and has no legal representation, they sign it in excitement and eventually get trapped in the web of lies the producer has woven.
An unravelable web.
Even worse is that as many cases are out there, they are only the reported ones. There are likely to be hundreds more cases like this that never see the light of day as a result of either the actor's shame or the producer's influence. In the grand scheme of things, a lot of producers are guilty of this evil but will never share it with the world. They also force the actors not to share their stories, and this is one of the dark secrets that they keep under wraps. But perhaps this is a better evil when compared to the next industry secret that producers will never tell anyone. They exchange movie roles for time in the sheets. Let's face it, Hollywood is probably the most competitive industry on the planet. Millions aspire, but only a few dozen eventually make it in. On the path leading to Hollywood success, there are a lot of obstacles and stumbling blocks in your way, and this is why we always celebrate anyone who makes it in and steals our hearts with their amazing talent. As the American dream depicts, you can make it in America if you work hard and remain persistent, right? Wrong. To a very large extent, producers have a huge influence and they decide who gets in and who doesn't. Seems reasonable, doesn't it? The only problem is that while some of these producers base the casting on talents, some do so based on other talents outside of acting. These producers reportedly prey on young women aspiring to make it in Hollywood, and they are always on the lookout for beautiful young women who are desperate enough to satisfy their sick desires. How do they do it, you ask? Well, it's said to start at some exclusive parties and events that double as their hunting grounds. They term it as exclusive parties, and almost everyone who's anyone in Hollywood shows up. Rationally, this would be Candyland for any actress aspiring to get opportunities in Hollywood, and they know this, so they simply throw this big party and wait. Sure enough, hopeful actresses show up and soon the whole place is littered with them, like moths to bright lights. And then these unscrupulous producers swing into action. They shower these hopeful actresses with attention, charm, and promises of stardom. They would say anything to get these women excited and even more hopeful. It's a deadly dance of ambition and vulnerability, and these women find themselves caught in a web where the desire for success blinds them to the hidden price they may have to pay. Allegedly, some of these producers would subtly propose a transaction between them and the talent desperate for a chance to prove themselves. The transaction is obviously outside the confines of professionalism and talent. Something more personal and intimate involves them meeting the producers at a hotel. A lot of these actresses are blindsided by this request, but by then it is too late. They are threatened if they refuse and told they will never get another opportunity with any other producer because they will badmouth and blacklist them. Given not much of a choice, these young hopefuls are lured into a deceitful trap between the devil and the deep blue sea. This occurrence is more common than most people imagine, and it is still whispered around in the industry today. The young hopefuls have no choice but to succumb and keep silent afterward, no matter how disturbed they feel about it. It also does not help that these producers are so wealthy and powerful, and so even when the producers don't eventually give them these roles, nothing is said and done against them. Silence is maintained because the victims fear the consequences of speaking up against producers so revered and respected. Producers discriminate in sharing profits. If we are being honest, we all have our favorite actors and actresses from our favorite movies. For some reason, we prefer them to all others, and we can decide to watch a movie just because they are in it. But it turns out that some Hollywood producers secretly have favorite actors in the industry, and when it comes to sharing profit, they tend to favor their favorites and give the other actors significantly lower payouts. This particular secret was still largely unknown until the controversy behind the film American Hustle. In this captivating drama, several actors embarked on a journey that would change their lives forever. Jeremy Renner and Bradley Cooper, both talented and established in their craft, stepped into the shoes of their characters, hoping to bring them to life on the silver screen. Little did they know that behind the scenes, a different script was being written, one of unequal compensation and shattered expectations. As the cameras rolled and the story unraveled, the cast of American Hustle soon discovered a startling truth. While their co-stars, Jennifer Lawrence and Amy Adams, basked in the glow of fame and fortune, Renner and Cooper found themselves standing in the shadows of inequity. It was revealed that they had received a significantly smaller percentage of the film's profits compared to their female counterparts. The curtain lifted, and the spotlight illuminated the dark reality that lurked beneath the film. The American Hustle profit-sharing dispute became a battle cry, echoing across the industry, shedding light on the pervasive issue of pay disparity. This real-life drama drew attention to the systemic inequities that had long plagued Hollywood. With the stage set and the truth exposed, a call for change reverberated through the hearts and minds of actors and audiences alike. The question arose, why were talented individuals, equally dedicated to their craft, receiving unequal compensation? The answer, it seemed, lay in the twisted webs of favoritism and the invisible hand of power, the producers. There was reason to believe that the producers of the film purposely dispensed the profits that way due to favoritism and no other cogent reason. Allowing controlled substances on set. Sure, every producer wants their star actors to be at peak performance on set and deliver well, but a hushed industry secret is that sometimes some producers go a little too far in boosting their actors' morale. It was whispered among the elite circles that the stars, those A-list luminaries that graced our screens, were bestowed with an endless supply of their favorite vice. The rumor mill churned with tales of a clandestine arrangement between the silver screen and their beloved performers. But the truth was far stranger than fiction. One day, legendary actor Dennis Quaid stepped forward, shedding light on this mysterious underworld. He dared to reveal the hidden truths. Dennis confessed to a casual addiction to coke, a shadow that once loomed over his rise to stardom. It all began when he embarked on his journey to the City of Angels in 1974, innocent and curious. In those early days, he dabbled with the controlled substance, a mere taste of what was to come, but it wasn't until he secured roles in mainstream films that the grip tightened and the allure of the white powder intensified. Coke, as he disclosed, held a secret place in the budgets of these movies, camouflaged under the name petty cash. It was a cunning disguise, ensuring that the substance-fueled sets remained shrouded in secrecy. Dennis Quaid confessed that the sets themselves became havens for the indulgence of this powerful substance. It was freely distributed, passed around like candy, for it had become the norm, an unspoken ritual that bound the actors and actresses together. In the intoxicating haze of those moments, Dennis Quaid unknowingly danced with his own downfall. Reflecting upon those tumultuous times, the actor admitted that his addiction to coke had been one of his gravest mistakes. It had torn apart the very fabric of his existence, leaving no stone unturned. The bright lights that once illuminated his path had dimmed, replaced by a haunting darkness that threatened to consume him entirely. But Dennis Quaid was not alone in this tumultuous journey. Even the iconic Jack Nicholson, a man who had charmed audiences with his enigmatic presence, had his own tale to tell. In a candid interview back in 1980, he nonchalantly remarked, "Drugs ain't no big thing." It was a bold proclamation, a testament to his unabashed love for getting high, a pursuit that occupied his attention for 4 glorious days every week. The Hollywood producers, those puppet masters of the silver screen, held the strings that controlled the destiny of their stars. They crafted an environment where the allure of controlled substances could flourish and where the actors and actresses could reach unprecedented heights of performance. They have fixers on speed dial. If you think about it, Hollywood is a business. Everyone you see in the industry may be there for the passion, but the money is a really huge motivating factor, from the actors to the directors and most certainly the producers. However, in the business of Hollywood, the public decides what sells and what doesn't. And one of the things that just does not sell are actors with scandals. It is bad for business, and these producers will do anything to get rid of scandals around the actors they want to work with. Now, admittedly, this is not so bad, but they would go to any lengths. Supposing an actress was working on a project and a scandal hits, the producers are put in a very bad spot. If they continue with the actress, the project is doomed to fail, and ultimately, It is too late to stop. So what do? They call a fixer someone who is skilled at making problems go away. Michael Cittrick was one of Hollywood's greatest fixers, and this was only underground knowledge. Cittrick is a seasoned professional in the industry, known for his skill in turning negative stories in the press into positive ones. He has been labeled as a spinmeister, demonstrating his expertise in reshaping public narratives. Over the years, Cittrick has successfully handled the reputation management of numerous high-profile clients, such as David Lee Roth and the controversial NFL quarterback Michael Vick. When it comes to handling controversies, Cittrick excels. If a celebrity finds themselves bombarded with negative press, there's no doubt that Cittrick is the go-to person they would want by their side. His ability to tackle difficult situations head-on is his greatest strength. You might notice a sudden surge of positive articles about a famous individual who has been caught in a compromising situation, and it's highly probable that Cittrick, or someone similar to him, is diligently working behind the scenes. In essence, Cittrick's expertise lies in crafting a new narrative, one that highlights the positive aspects and minimizes the impact of negative events. He understands the power of perception and works tirelessly to shape it in favor of his clients. By utilizing various strategic methods, Cittrick helps his clients regain control over their public image and navigate the tumultuous waters of media scrutiny. And most Hollywood producers have a Cittrick on speed dial. They mount an unhealthy amount of pressure on their stars. In their pursuit of ephemeral beauty, Hollywood starlets are not only judged by their adoring fans and the unforgiving public, but also by the agents and producers who wield their power like a double-edged sword. Like a relentless storm, these unseen forces push them towards perilous paths, demanding that they shed pounds in the most perilous of ways. But this is not just a claim. As a matter of fact, Demi Lovato backs this up when she recalls a time when she was younger. She would stare at her belly and ponder if it would ever be taut and flat. As the sands of time flowed, she finally found her way to Hollywood, and there her eating disorder was not only noticed, but encouraged by some of the producers she worked with. Naomi Watts is another example. Known for her ethereal presence, she dared to share a harrowing truth. In their quest for her perfection, she was forced to starve, sacrificing her own well-being upon the altar of a red carpet appearance. But let us not forget the voices that rise from within this realm, like whispers of defiance against the engulfing tide. Ashley Graham, a beacon of resilience, divulged a chilling encounter with a producer whose motives reeked of malevolence. As he waved crisp $20 bills before her very eyes, he hissed promises of greater fortune if only she would shed her weight. Many other actresses have stories like these. It is the dark secret that the producers keep close to their hearts. Some producers may be involved in organized crime. Amid the glimmering lights of the Sunset Strip, one establishment stood out in Hollywood's lore, the Trocadero, affectionately known as the Troc. This legendary hotspot became a nexus where stars, producers, and mobsters crossed paths, blurring the lines between the silver screen and the criminal underworld. Here, amidst the clinking glasses and laughter, celebrities and studio heads found themselves rubbing shoulders with figures like Mickey Cohen, a notorious gangster with deep ties to organized crime. The Trocadero's allure lay in its ability to draw in the rich and famous, creating an atmosphere of mystery and intrigue. The convergence of Hollywood elites and criminal masterminds painted a vivid picture of a world where fame and infamy intersected. While the stories of these encounters remain largely anecdotal, they hint at a symbiotic relationship that fueled speculation about the entanglement of organized crime within Hollywood's power structures. The reach of organized crime in Hollywood did not dissipate with the passing of the Golden Age. In the 1970s, whispers of nefarious dealings emerged with links to the production and distribution of major films. One such case was Bryanston Pictures, a company entangled in controversy and rumored connections to a prominent mafia crime family. Bryanston Pictures found itself in the spotlight due to its involvement in the release of the cult horror classic, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The film, directed by Tobe Hooper, sent shockwaves through audiences and became an iconic symbol of the horror genre. However, behind the scenes, Bryanston Pictures was dogged by allegations of mafia involvement, creating a sinister aura that surrounded its operations. While the exact nature of the connections remains speculative, these allegations perpetuated a perception of organized crime's influence in Hollywood. The potential infiltration of the film industry and producers by criminal elements conjured a chilling notion that the shadows cast by the silver screen extended beyond mere storytelling. Hiring paparazzi. When actors become subjects of paparazzi attention, they are thrust into the limelight, leading to the construction of a persona that is both relatable and fascinating to the public. And Hollywood producers are well aware of this fact, and so they use it to their advantage, hiring paparazzi for the actors they want to work with. But why? Well, for one, paparazzi images, accompanied by media coverage, depict actors in various situations, ranging from red carpet events to private outings. This curated portrayal of actors helps shape public perceptions, often aligning with the characters they portray on screen. The audience begins to associate the actor's personal life with their on-screen roles, thereby creating a deeper emotional connection with their performances. But sometimes, these products take the paparazzi thing a little too far. Controversy. While the intention behind hiring paparazzi is to generate positive publicity, controversy can inadvertently arise from their intrusive tactics. In some instances, scandals and personal struggles become fodder for tabloids, attracting widespread media attention. While this type of publicity may be detrimental to an actor's public image in the short term, it can paradoxically generate increased interest in their future projects. The public's fascination with scandal and redemption narratives often translates into higher viewership, as audiences are drawn to witness an actor's ability to overcome challenges both on and off screen. The practice of producers hiring paparazzi for the purpose of enhancing an actor's popularity is not without controversy. Critics argue that it invades an individual's privacy and perpetuates a culture of intrusion and harassment. Moreover, they contend that it undermines the authenticity of an actor's image and fosters a reliance on manufactured publicity rather than genuine talent. Balancing ethical concerns with the demands of the entertainment industry remains a challenging task for all stakeholders involved. But remember, Hollywood is a business, and these producers intend to run it well. Granted, some of the things these producers do deserve some serious jail time. The year was 1964. A new franchise was making its debut on CBS, and everyone behind it was scared to the bones. There were 1,001 questions. What if no one liked it? It was an unconventional idea, but in the first episode, one small, tiny mistake slipped past the eyes of the team, a crew member visible in the film, ruining the illusion. This was the first of many little mistakes that eventually led to the most fatal mistake and ended the 2-year run of what would have been a timeless series, The Munsters Next Door. Everyone is familiar with an everyday suburban family. We see them every day. We have some of them as friends. We could even be them. But what if your average suburban family wasn't so average and were actually a family of monsters? This was the idea that crossed the mind of Bob Clampett. He had been tinkering with the idea between 1943 to 1945, and he believed it was time to breathe life into it, so he decided to pitch it to Universal Studios. It was crazy. It was wild. Very unusual and definitely original, and there was every chance that the studio would reject it. But Bob, being an animator, believed in it so much that he sold it to them. Did they buy it? Absolutely. But there was another problem. The executives were divided on how the movie should be aired. While some believed it should be a cartoon, others thought a live action was the way to go. Eventually, the live-action side of the board prevailed, and in 1964, the live-action pilot of the show was aired. It was titled My Fair Munster. In all honesty, it was a stab in the dark. The movie may have gone from being a mere idea to being executed, but whether or not it'll be accepted by the public was a whole different ballgame altogether. Thankfully, Fred Gwynne and Al Lewis, the first cast, did a great job as a result of their O-screen chemistry, and the public fell in love with not just them, but the movie itself. Right from the pilot scene, it was already a great success, and thus, what would become a 2-year franchise was born. But after 2 years of a good run, the show finally stopped and is now a shadow of its former self. Everything that starts must end, and so the show eventually had to draw its own curtains, right? Wrong. There are a few factors that forced the Munsters show to draw the curtains against their own will, mistakes that sunk their fangs into the heart of the show and eventually ended its run, and the first one, you may not have seen coming even if you were a fan of the show: sloppy production mistakes. The show may have painted this eerie and enchanting world that has captivated the hearts and interest of thousands, if not millions of people. However, behind all the spookiness and charm, there is a flaw, a terrible flaw that may have been hard to notice, but even more difficult to ignore when you do. Remember those mysterious bats that were fluttering through the air in the show, how they would cast their ominous shadows upon the unsuspecting residents of 1313 Mockingbird Lane? Well, here's the kicker. As they soared with an air of grandeur, even when the viewers knew that the movie was fiction, there was a fatal flaw in those scenes that would infuriate anyone who saw it. In their fervor to capture the essence of these winged creatures, the creators of the Munsters employed the use of wires, an ingenious trick that unfortunately didn't escape the prying eyes of those who sought out every minute detail. It turns out that during those scenes, the wires were still showing, which ruined the illusion of the bats flying on their own, and it sent the critics to Critic Town. A mistake that slipped through the producers, but when critics start pointing things out, the show would not doubt be affected. But if you think the mistakes are over, think again. Terrible plot inconsistency. Well, one may argue that when you have a show where monsters and humans are living side by side, a lot of things are bound to go wrong, plot-wise, but the holes in this plot are apparently too terrible to ignore. For one, on the show, the Munsters regard their niece Marilyn, who looks like the ideal beauty of non-monster people, as ugly and deformed. Yet everyone else in the town of Mockingbird Heights basically looks like Marilyn. But that's not all. The Munsters also watch movies and regard then-popular stars such as Frank Sinatra and Rock Hudson as ideal men, and Grandpa's beauty potions always conjure up a beauty who looks something like Marilyn. But here's the problem. Shouldn't their concept of beauty be horrible monsters, in accordance with the premise that Marilyn is an ugly duckling? On top of all these, there's also the inconsistency where the Munsters seem not to be aware that they look radically different from non-monster people despite interacting with them on a daily basis. This begs the question, are the Munsters frightening or not? Sometimes in the show they scare non-monsters, but at other times interactions with regular people seem seamless, almost like the humans are not aware that they're interacting with monsters. The inconsistencies are way too obvious, and therefore the show has been slammed by a handful of critics. More bullets in the heart of the show, but will it finally give? This next mistake was an even harder hit. Crew member visible. Have you ever spotted a film mistake that was so bad you laughed and asked yourself, how did the crew not see that? Well, in The Munsters, the crew apparently wanted a shot in the scenes, because in one of the scenes, a crew member could be seen through an open door beside the staircase. It's one of those details that you may not catch at first, but once you do, it's impossible to not see it. While some viewers caught it and had a good laugh, critics had a different perspective, as they thought it was disgraceful, sloppy, and extremely unprofessional that the mistake even happened in the first place. What makes this much worse is the fact that this mistake was in the very first scene of the very first episode. Is this an unforgivable mistake, or it's just one of those things? Either way, this in turn contributed to the fall of the Munsters show. Even when they had other good reviews, a great concept and a storyline, little by little, these little mistakes poisoned the perception of the show until this next thing caused it to fall off completely. Leave! Batman's in town. Despite all the bad comments and critics, the Munsters show was still a resounding success, so much so that it was running for 2 years straight until another bully show came into town and bodies the Munsters. The name of the show? Batman. As the Batman movie hit theaters, it captured the attention of millions of people. Moviegoers flocked to cinemas eager to see their favorite superhero in action. This surge in popularity meant that people had less time and interest to watch other shows on TV, including the Munsters. As a result, the ratings for the Munsters began to plummet. With low rankings and declining viewership, the producers of the Munsters faced a challenging situation. They relied on advertising revenue and audience support to keep the show running, but the decline in viewers made it difficult to sustain the production. Despite their best efforts, they couldn't compete with the overwhelming popularity of the Batman movie. Sadly, the impact of the Batman movie on the Munsters was severe. The show struggled to attract advertisers who preferred to invest their resources in the highly successful Batman franchise. The declining ratings also made it harder for the show to secure a prime time slot, further decreasing its chances of survival. Eventually, the producers of the Munsters had to make the difficult decision to end the show. It was a disappointing outcome for the cast, crew, and loyal fans who had supported the series for 2 years. The Batman movie's immense success became a determining factor in the downfall of the Munsters, forcing them to pack up and quit. According to one of the producers, Patrick, he said, "I think Batman was to blame. Unfortunately, this show came to a very sad end."